Good morning, afternoon, or evening, ladies and gentlemen, all in crypto here, and welcome back, guys, for another daily cryptocurrency market update. If you are finding yourself on this channel for the first time today, do consider becoming a subscriber because we drop an update just like this one every single day around 1 p.m. UK time to help you guys stay up to date with the latest and greatest things happening within the crypto space, but also the broader markets. And that's what we're going to be doing in this video. Yesterday, we took a little bit more of a look at the broader markets and the macro context of things. So if you did miss yesterday's update, do be sure to go back and check that out. Today, we have a lot of news to kind of share with you guys that has came out over the weekend. BlackRock is essentially claiming that they think a spot Bitcoin ETF is going to be approved on Wednesday. Now, interestingly, the SEC actually came out and released a no FOMO ad via their Twitter page over the weekend, which is rather interesting. And we've got a number of other things that perhaps correlate and maybe confirm or give an inkling of the confirmation of what BlackRock is saying in regards to the SEC saying they have no further comments on a Bitcoin spot ETF. So we're going to be getting into all that. Then we're going to be looking at some good news for XRP and Avalanche that have now been listed or are going to be added to Grayscale's digital large cap fund, which is a fund that we've been tracking that's given us broader confluence to the direction that we think the markets are going in 2024 and certainly 2023. You know, it's not just Bitcoin that's bottomed. A lot of the products around Bitcoin and crypto have bottomed in regards to funds that are currently traded, i.e. Grayscale's funds. GBTC was one thing that we were trading last year rather successfully. And then we're going to be going over to Bitcoin and, of course, looking at the week ahead. So as always, we have a lot to get into. There's never not a lot to get into in the crypto space. My job is made rather easy with the sort of excitement around this space and all the things happening. So let's get into it all, guys. Without further ado, let's probably start off with the BlackRock news. Now, this was published via the block yesterday. So on Saturday, BlackRock expects spot Bitcoin ETF approval next Wednesday, according to Fox Business. And if we dive over to the actual block article, BlackRock expects a spot Bitcoin ETF approval next Wednesday, according to Fox Business. Some of the quick takes on this is BlackRock's the world's largest asset manager expects the SEC to approve its application for a spot Bitcoin ETF next Wednesday, according to a report via Fox Business. So this is interesting. We've seen a bit of a turbulent week in regards to last week I'm referring to here, a Bitcoin spot ETF. We had Matrixport report that an ETF was likely to get rejected. We looked at the senior analyst over at Bloomberg on ETFs, comments on this, basically saying that there's nothing official about this narrative. And one area that I'm very interested in regards to the application of distributed ledger technology is in regards to information and the verifiability of that information. This is stuff that we're going to be covering with you guys in the year ahead. Guys, I have so much to say on distributed ledgers. I think that it is such a massive social, economic, and everything in between change that we are living through. There's going to be some major opportunities coming out of it. And we're really focused on looking at actual sectors that aren't just based on hype, that are fundamentally changing the world that we live in. And hopefully in the same way that Bitcoin decentralized money, decentralizing things like media, and many other things like the cloud lords, the kind of technocrats, all stuff that we're going to be covering with you in the future. Now, rather interestingly, to kind of couple it in with the BlackRock news, this was from the SEC Investor Ed official page. And it says, no go to FOMO. Always so cheesy when you have government bodies coming out with slogans and stuff like this. And I think the interesting thing about this is the timing of it in regards to what BlackRock said. This came out on the same day, which was the 6th of January. And perhaps them putting this forward is them kind of saying, look, we're going to approve a Bitcoin spot ETF, which we all know is going to happen. Don't get the FOMO. And is the price of Bitcoin going to dump on the back end of this? Let's just, before we tackle that subject, look at a little bit more news. Just in, the SEC has no additional feedback for a Bitcoin ETF application. Now, this is some stuff that the senior analyst, Eric, I can't pronounce or forget his second name, basically said, he said, look, the things that the SEC are doing with the people that have applied for a Bitcoin spot ETF, is not things they would be doing if they were looking to reject them all. And if the SEC, we looked at this also, did reject a load of Bitcoin spot ETFs, they'd end up in a Grayscale-esque lawsuit that, of course, they lost with all of them, including BlackRock, and everyone in between. And we've seen even JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, all sort of be issued a role in the application of a Bitcoin spot ETF. So all looks good on that front. Will the price of Bitcoin drop? Is there this kind of, I think people are very nervy, and I think it might be a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy in regards to the actual approval of a Bitcoin spot ETF. We know the price has adjusted accordingly, and it's one reason we've been so, I guess, positive on a Bitcoin spot ETF, because the price has moved to kind of suggest that an ETF was going to come well before we were at this point here, and it's quite a confirming factor. But you could see a little bit more turbulence or a little bit of a buy the rumor, sell the news sort of thing in regards to Bitcoin. And we can go over to the Bitcoin chart and we can look at that towards the end of the video. I want to get the news out of the way, and then we can get into things, look at Grayscale's digital large cap fund, because it kind of gives confluence to the broader market and where we think things are going. But we have looked at this store box period, which we've been very right on. Lots of targets made, not just for Bitcoin. You've got lots of resistance getting ran into in the likes of the stock market. We looked at Coinbase, hit our earlier on this year target. We were accumulating at the sort of $30, $40 mark. It's done very well for us over the course of 2023. But we do expect it to continue just because the targets have been met. All we're really expecting, the broader uptrend is still intact. A bit of a pullback, a bit of a rest, potentially, before we see that further upside continuation. And actually, we have many altcoins setting up for further upside continuation, including Bitcoin. So there is, I suppose, a threat of the whole buy the rumor, sell the news thing happening. It becomes a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. I can guarantee someone tries to arbitrage and take that trade in regards to dumping on the news, but ultimately it sets in motion what is going to be a very positive thing for the crypto space. And I'm going to be doing a video, hopefully this week, where it will just be me and the camera talking about actually how BlackRock and the likes of the US institutions are likely going to capture altcoins through the same means that they do with a lot of stocks out there by becoming a majority shareholder or a large shareholder. They're likely going to do the same thing with altcoins because, of course, we've seen, or I've seen, taking part in many altcoin governances, that actually one thing that happens that's always interesting is a whale comes in and kind of, throws a spanner into the mix. And we've seen actually one whale in some crypto altcoin governance systems completely be able to control how funds are spent and things like this. But that I guess is all for another video. So let's talk about the good news for AVAX and XRP. This is from Grayscale. New for this quarter, AVAX and XRP have been added to Grayscale's digital large cap fund, GDLC. Another thing that we've been trading and tracking. Matic has been removed. Interesting. CRV, which is Curve, has been removed also from the DeFi fund. But this is, I think, very good news for essentially AVAX and XRP. Not so good news for Matic. What I want to do now is go over to the GDLC chart. Most people I don't really know if anybody else looks at this sort of stuff, but we try and. No one can predict the future. But what you can do is you can essentially compile things to help you have a better understanding of where, or an edge on where things may be going. And that's why we look at such a broad basket of things. Let's get over to Grayscale's digital large cap fund, something that we've actually been tracking. So our lower down head and shoulders target was met. And you can see it had a slight rest there. We're now sort of hovering above it in a bit of an ascending manner. But we do have now a broader head and shoulders pattern that's going to take us to around about $27. So we do expect upside continuation. This was something that gave us a little bit of confluence to the overall market. We also traded rather well, I must say, the Grayscale's Ethereum Trust. And of course, we traded the likes of Grayscale's Trust also. So everything's heading in the right direction. Solana Trust was another one we watched. Also Chainlink's Trust. And of course, got the Stellar Lumens Trust, which actually looks interesting. And we're going to be talking about Stellar and XRP in the week ahead. So let's perhaps now dive into sort of Bitcoin, take a look at where that is from a technical point of view, and then talk to you a little bit about what's to come in the week ahead. We've got some significant economic data. We've got UK GDP on Friday. We've got the US CPI on Thursday. We saw higher than expected inflation in Europe, which kind of perhaps saw a bit more of a debate on rate cuts this year. And we've said that's one of the hardest things that the markets have got to try and work out is rate cuts. And they're going to be constantly readjusting as data comes in. And it's going to cause a bit of a volatile time, I believe. So that's really also contributing to the kind of macro headwind that crypto's in right now. But it's a macro headwind that ultimately I think it will penetrate through, hopefully with data that comes in, and ultimately we are in a broader uptrend. So there's no need, I don't think, to panic here. We'll see what happens with the Bitcoin spot ETF. I think that's going to be the price action that comes from that. I think is going to be rather interesting. So talk a little bit about Bitcoin. This is an uptrend in our opinion. I would like to see really Bitcoin get to the sort of 48,000 zone, have a little bit of a pullback, set up an inverse head and shoulders that's going to allow us to predict a kind of 150-ish $1,000 target. And we actually have been giving out some altcoin predictions. We gave one for HBAR yesterday. I think in the short term, HBAR is looking likely to go to 27 cents. And then we could potentially look at the possibilities of it going all the way to $2. But a lot's got to happen for that. So we still do stick to the course. We've got, again, the headwinds were, of course, the S&P is at all-time high resistance. The NASDAQ coming off a bit. Apple had a bit of a double top. I've been looking into actually the formations of many of these tech companies, and a lot of them aren't quite the basement stories that you hear. A lot of them have actually CIA involvement and funding right from the beginning. But that, again, I think is for another video. I do like to talk about this stuff, guys, because I am very passionate about showing people that they've been completely lied to by governments. But anyway, I don't want to get myself in too much trouble. So we'll see what happens this week. It's going to be interesting if we do get that Bitcoin spot ETF approval, what the price does. I think there is definitely the scope for a bit longer period of rest, a bit more of a longer pullback. However, remember, don't bet on it. This is an uptrend. The trend is your friend. Don't try and go short in a long market. Like we were saying to people in 2022, why are you longing in a short market? On probability, on a probability basis, you're going to be wrong more than you're going to be right. And I think people get too greedy. People want to sell and they want to buy back lower. Actually, my investment thesis for crypto is don't try and time every top and every bottom along the way in a broader trend, because you'll end up getting it wrong and it will cost you when you can make your money just in the sitting. If you want to be a trader, be a trader. But I think even traders, I think you should have an investment pot and a trading pot. That's how I do things, how I teach in the Patreon. If you want to join the Patreon, do check the link in the description. No pressure there. Little bit of a look at the week ahead. Monday, not too interesting. Tuesday might be a little bit more interesting. Wednesday, oil inventories, one thing to watch. And then Thursday, we've got US CPI. We've got true inflation coming out at 2.16, I think, yesterday, right around the Fed's target. It's coming out at 3 in regards to the CPI, or it's 3.1 the last one. We'll see what this one comes out at. Something definitely to watch. And then we've got UK GDP on Friday. So that was the update, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, a like is always appreciated. So is a comment. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and check out all our links in the description to become a patron. And also go over to allincrypto.com and check our website out. We've got a major announcement coming this week where we are going to be essentially showcasing our portfolio tracker that is totally free for all of you guys to use and to maintain and keep track of all your cryptocurrencies that might be scattered all over the place in various different wallets. And help you sort of keep track of it all. So that's all I've got for you guys. If you enjoyed the content, likes, appreciate it, says a comment, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Thanks for watching. See you in the next.